So what's the secret to spot reducing body fat? Well, unfortunately, there is no secret, but hopefully today I can explain why there is no secret, and maybe this will give you a little bit more understanding of your physiology so that you can lose maybe stubborn body fat in certain areas if that's your goal. A lot of people say, well, I need to do crunches to get my abs more defined to lose belly fat. Well, you're gonna get your abs more toned in regard to the muscle, but if I do nothing in regard to the overall fat, it's not going to change. You still have to be in a deficit, meaning you have to either burn more calories than you consume or consume less calories than your body burns, right? So I side on the side of making sure that you focus on your diet of things, and we're going to get to more reasons why that would be important, and then strength training your whole body. And if it's abs that you want, or if it's, triceps that you want, a lot of people talk about, they want to see their arms, the back of their arms, or whatever it might be. Doing exercises is just going to work the muscle underneath the fat, but if you don't do anything to address the fat itself, nothing's going to change. So exercise isn't the way. Diet can be the way, but a lot of people are talking about this because they've dieted and they can't get rid of these last areas, the stubborn fat. Well, whatever you put on first in regard to your body fat, that's the last thing you're going to lose. So if I put on a bunch of weight in other areas, like a lot of women complain, well, I got fat and my boobs got really big, but then I lost weight and the first thing to go were my boobs got smaller. Well, if it was the last thing that you put on in regard to weight, it's going to be the first thing to go. And the first thing you put on is the last to go. So for some people, like let's just take myself, for example, I don't put fat on my boobs, but I put it on my stomach and love handle area. So even when I diet down, that's the last area for me to go. I really don't put fat on any other place other than my face if I'm going to gain weight, and then my visceral fat around the organs. So for me, I get kind of like that skinny fat, right? Where I look fine from outside, but if I took my shirt off, it'd be like, pot belly. I've never really had a pot belly, but if I let myself go, that's what you'd see. That's just genetic. So there's a genetic component to things. I had a girlfriend that had always a flat stomach. I didn't see her for a while. She got bigger, all right? Her butt got bigger, her thighs got bigger, her stomach was still flat. So genetically, her hormones put the weight in her fat in her hips and her thighs. Her upper body really didn't change much, maybe a tiny bit. But her lower body, hips, thighs, butt, that got gigantic where her stomach never changed. Interesting, right? Some people, it's their upper back, their neck, all right, their shoulders, they put more weight on their upper body and they have these little stick legs. Some people, it's more all over their body. So depending on where you put it on genetically, that's going to be the stubborn areas. So how do you attack that? Is just like how you'd attack any sort of body fat, whether it's behind your arms, your stomach, your love handles, wherever it is that you want to get rid of the fat, is eating in a calorie deficit to lose weight. Because if we lose weight, you're going to lose the fat, right? That's what we want to lose. How do you preferentially lose body fat? Is by strength training. You want to make sure that you strength train hard enough and make sure that you recover from that strength training. But that's going to send a signal to your body, hey, when we're losing weight, if you're eating in a calorie deficit, let's make sure to keep the muscle, and then let's get rid of the fat. Let's keep the skeletal bones because the muscles pull on the bones. Let's keep that. Let's get rid of the fat. Let's keep the nervous system tissue because you're having to use that for, moving the weight up and down. Let's keep that. Let's get rid of the fat. So if you want to lose fat, strength training and dieting, to me, are the key. Now, you're going to have to mess around with your diet, make sure that you get enough protein. We'll save that for another video. But now if you're doing that already, you've been losing weight, now you're stuck at a plateau. There could be other reasons why, like we said, genetics, hormonal. You might just have this genetic capacity for belly fat. I hate to say it, this is just how some things are on certain people. It's just how God made you. It's what your genetics are. It's hard to get rid of. This is why bodybuilders gravitate towards bodybuilding. Their genetics are high muscle. They touch a weight. They build a lot of muscle. They have low myostatin, which means they build a lot. They can build a lot of muscle easily, and they have low body fat. So their body's genetics are geared towards looking great when you build muscle, right? They're going to have a ton of muscle. They can diet down, and their body's going to have definition everywhere. Some people, it's just not in the cards. They can't build enough muscle, and they have a lot of body fat. like I said, genetics are going to dictate where. But if you want to maximize your genetic, get the most out of them, strength training and dieting. Now there's another component that I would add in, and this is where a lot of the fasting diets come in. This is where like the ketogenic diet comes in, or low carb, slow carb. Now everyone's eating carnivore diet. What does this do? This is going to help your relationship with insulin. So let's just say you've been dieting down, but you still have maybe some higher insulin in your body, which insulin follows blood sugar and it helps push things into the cells of your body. What we want is we want insulin to get lower. But when insulin lowers down, that means our body's going to tap into our muscle glycogen, our liver glycogen, and our body fat, our storage energy versus our blood sugar or what we just ate. So if we can tap into that through fasting, your body only has so much blood sugar, carbohydrate, only so much liver glycogen, and so much muscle glycogen. If we can get through that, your body's going to start using body fat. So fasting does that. Ketogenic diets do that. You can do this through lower carb or slower carb diets where everything you're eating tends to go into your bloodstream very slowly. You have a better, relationship with insulin. It's not constantly crashing up and down. When we do this crash up and down with insulin, a lot of times it steadily starts to raise over time. So getting your relationship better with insulin, I would look at Dr. Fung. He does great fasting. You can look at ketogenic diets. You can look at, which are really, a lot of people say they're eating ketogenic. It's a much more aggressive diet than you might think, but just trying to drop your carbohydrates overall. Either way, you're going to need to be in a calorie deficit to lose weight. And if you do that and you start getting a better relationship with insulin, your body might, again, depending on your genetics, it might start losing some of that stubborn fat because you're actually tapping into it. Whereas before you were losing fat and you got to a plateau, because maybe the background insulin is kind of stopping you, it's wanting you to store a little bit. Maybe that's also because of a crash diet. If you lose weight too quickly, things like that can happen as well. So we want to make sure that we're treating our hormones correctly. Insulin is one of those hormones. So look at your relationship with insulin if you want to start tapping into that body fat. Again, at the end of the day, there's no secret because it's genetic. And it's just how things go. So you gotta do what you can do to maximize your genetics to see how that will play out. That's all I got for you today. Until next time.